Can you hear me?
Yes. And let me. Good evening, everyone. I know we still have some people that will be joining us. I'll admit them in as they come into the Zoom. But I want to welcome everyone to our 8th grade parent night tonight. This is the first time ever that we've had a virtual 8th grade parent night. So the counselors, we've worked really hard on our presentation, and we think it's going to go really well. Hopefully we won't have any technical difficulties, but if we do, please bear with us. And we're asking that if you have questions, you save them till the end of our presentation. And or if something comes up and you really want to put it out there, you can type it into the chat. If it's something that can wait till the end, we'll probably just wait till the end to answer it. But if we need to answer it right away, we'll do that. So first thing, I am going to see. I'm going to share my screen. And that's not what I wanted to share. This worked really well earlier today. No, that's not what I want to share. Okay, ladies, what am I doing wrong here? There it is, but I can't. Ah, there we go. There it is. Okay. I'm going to turn it over right now to Rachel Marchetti, who's one of our assistant principals, and let her say a few words to you all. Okay, there. Sorry, for some reason, I think I remuted you, Rachel.
Okay, no problem. Thank you. Technology. We have learned a lot about this year, so thank you guys for being patient with us. My name is Rachel Marchetti. I know many of you know me. I am lucky enough to have transitioned with this group from 6th to 7th grade, and now from 8th grade to freshman year. So I am the principal at the high school for the 9th and 10th graders. So I will be your student's principal next year, meaning that questions that you have, issues that arise, anything that you need, I will be your contact. So I'm very excited for next year. I'm hoping that we're a little bit back to normal, more so than we have been this year, and super excited for this group to join the high school. So welcome, and we have worked hard, and I want to give the counselors a shout out for all the work that they've done. They've done it differently this year, but they've still done a great job. So a big thank you to those folks.
Thank you, Rachel. Okay, we're going to jump right in. I'm still admitting a few in, so bear with me as I do that. Here we go. So this is our counseling team at the high school. We have 3 counselors up at the high school, and we split the alphabet. So Miss Johnson, who you'll hear in just a minute, Karen has last names A through F, and Mrs. Combs, who you'll also hear from tonight, she has last names G through N. And Tara will also talk to you in a few minutes. And then that's me on the right there, Mrs. Robinson. My first name is Jennifer, and I work with students' last names O through Z. So we will be the counselor for your student all 4 years of high school. And then we have a registrar up at the high school, and her name is Deb Donnell. She helps us with a lot of things. She actually makes us look really good. And she works with students mostly with, especially freshmen, I would say, with their Chromebook issues. If they can't get logged into their Chromebook, or if they're having some trouble logging into their email, they'll want to come in and see Mrs. Donnell. She can help them out with that. And then sometimes our students forget their student IDs at home and they need a replacement student ID. And so she will help them with that as well. The main thing she does with older students, especially our seniors, is she sends their transcripts to colleges for them. So she's invaluable as far as that goes when our students are applying to colleges and getting their transcripts sent. So this is what a typical day at the high school looks like. It looks pretty similar to what any 8th grader's schedule looks like. Their start and stop times, I mean. So they won't have to be getting up a lot earlier or anything to come to the high school next year. Of course, we're still in our hybrid schedule at the high school, just like you guys are at the middle school, but we're going to switch that on April 5th. And then we're also next fall planning on having our block schedule again. So we'll have our A and B days like we've always had before this year. So students will have 4 classes each day. They'll be 90 minutes long. And the third class of the day is where they have their lunch. So on 3A on A days and 3B on B days. It's very typical for students to have different lunch shifts on A days and B days because they have different class there. So they go to lunch with their teacher, not with their, like, not all 9th graders go at the same time. They go with their teacher. Lunches run about 25 minutes with passing times on each side of that. So that makes that third block class each day 2 hours long, actually, with the instructional time in there and potentially a little bit of flex time like we're doing this year, lunch and all. And then Wednesdays, of course, we have our late start days where students come in a little bit later that day so teachers can collaborate in the morning. They still have their 4 classes. They're just not quite 90 minutes long on Wednesdays. And we may go back to having warrior time like we've had in the past, which is an advisory on Wednesdays. So let's talk about credits, because credits are really important at the high school. I told the 8th graders last week, I know that your grades are really important to you in middle school, as they should be, but they're also really important up at the high school because that's how you earn credit. You have to pass your classes at the end of each semester to earn credit. So we do grade checks at like mid-quarter and at the end of the quarter, but really for earning credit, it's important that where your grade is at the end of each semester. So the first semester goes from the first day of school until actually Christmas break. It was a little different this year. And then second semester from the day we get back from Christmas break to the end of the school year. So our students have 8 classes at a time. And so in each of their 8 classes, they're earning a half credit in each class each semester. So at the end of the first semester, they should end with 4 credits. Then they do that again second semester, and they should end with 8 credits at the end of their first year. And they can continue to do this every year. So they could earn a potential of 32 credits by the time they graduate, which is more than necessary for our general diploma or our scholastic diploma, which I'll show you in just a minute. What's really important also to recognize there at the bottom is a student that fails a class at semester will not earn credit in the class, and it depends on the class of what that is, but they potentially could have to retake the class or go to summer school, especially if that is a core class, because it's going to be a graduation requirement. So this is our general diploma here, and every student at the high school has to meet these requirements. We have some of our students, quite a few actually, that are working a little bit beyond this, doing the scholastic diploma, which will be on the next slide. But I want you to take a look at the requirements here. So at the very least, you know that your student will be taking a core class, so a math, science, social studies, English, their first 3 years, for sure. They do get some choices in those classes as they get a little bit older. And then on English, they actually have to take that all 4 years. And then you see 1 credit of fine art, practical art, and you can see what departments those are in, 1 credit of PE, half credit of health and half credit of personal finance. So it's very common to see a ninth grader taking a fine art, a practical art, and a PE, because if you have your registration sheet, or if you've looked at that, you can see a lot of what is on that sheet is in those areas. So it's a good idea to do those. If you have other plans, that's fine too, but if you don't really know for sure what you want to take as a freshman, it's great you can knock out all three of those requirements your first year. And then we're also opening up health for freshmen, which is on your sheet. And so you're welcome to take health as a freshman, but you can do that as a sophomore, junior, or senior as well. It is a graduation requirement, obviously. So you have to take it at some point. You can also take it over the summer in an online format, and you could do that the summer after your freshman year at the earliest. Same with personal finance. We don't open that up to freshmen, but we do allow sometimes sophomores, typically juniors and seniors take that class, and also it is available over the summer in online format. So there's 26 total credits required for this diploma. But if you just added very quickly what I talked about, you're not going to get to 26, because what's missing are the 9 elective credits that are necessary also to graduate. Elective credits tend to confuse students a lot at first, but they don't need to. They're actually really the simplest thing, because they can be anything. You know, an elective could be a PE class, it could be a fine art, it could be a math. It's just once you've taken what's required and you decide to take more in that area, then it counts as an elective. So for instance, if say your ninth grader next year is going to take weightlifting for their PE credit, which is very common, that'll obviously count to that 1 credit required to graduate in physical education. If they decide then to take another physical education class, whether that's weightlifting or maybe it's lifetime sports later on, that will count toward their elective credits. So those really start to build up junior and senior year especially. Also, passing the US and Missouri Constitution test is a requirement, which the students take those tests in their required civics or AP US government class as a junior. And then we require everybody that graduates from Smithville High School to take some class that counts as a speech requirement, or that fulfills a speech requirement, I should say. And that can either be that half credit you see there at the bottom, fundamentals of speech, or there's 3 year-long classes that they can take at some point to meet that requirement. Beginning forensics and debate, which is open to freshmen. You'll see that on your sheet. Intro to business, also open to freshmen. ELA 3 is obviously English 3 for juniors. And then the speech class can be taken typically either junior or senior year there. So one of those classes has to be taken at some point in high school. Okay, so let's take a look at the Scholastic Diploma and kind of compare and contrast what was on the previous slide. So what you'll see right off the bat is that you have more in the core areas for the Scholastic Diploma. And then also you see right below that 2 credits of world languages or foreign language. You didn't see that at all on the previous slide. So you could think about our Scholastic Diploma as a college prep diploma. And because if a student is college bound, it makes good sense that they take a core class every year of high school. And also there are certain colleges that require foreign language for admission. And I'll show you a slide in just a minute that gives you a couple of examples of that. Below the world languages, you see with fine art, practical art, PE, health, personal finance, and speech, the requirements are all the same there. So it's really just the core areas and the foreign language that's the biggest difference. And then 28 total credits rather than 26, very easy to get to for our students, passing the Constitution tests also, and graduating with at least a 3.0 GPA or a B average, which if you're gonna go to college, you should be shooting for that anyway. So these are our weighted classes at Smithville High School. What this means is each of these classes, there's a 0.5 distinction point added to the grade point average. So for instance, there's a couple of them on here that freshmen can take. One of them, they're on the right side, it is Introduction to Engineering Design, and then a little bit lower is Principles of Biomedical Science. So if your student were to take one of those 2 classes, or both potentially, whatever grade they get in the class each semester, they will get 0.5 added to that. For example, say they take IED, Introduction to Engineering Design, and they get a B in the class. So that's a 3.0 on their grade point average, but because it's weighted, it's actually a 3.5. So that helps students that, some of our students are very worried about keeping their GPA high, which is great. And so sometimes though they in the past have shied away from these more challenging classes because of that. So adding the distinction point really has kind of taken that away, that fear a little bit out of taking these type of classes. And so, we do have a lot more students enrolled in them, it seems like, because of that. So as you can see, a lot of these are advanced placement, which I'll talk about in just a minute, what that means. Several of them are dual credit. And again, I'll talk about that in just a minute. So they're college level classes, and for the most part here on the weighted courses. Okay, so if you think back a couple of slides before to the Scholastic Diploma requirements, and then as you're looking at this slide, it makes a little bit more sense, hopefully, of why we would have that diploma that requires a little bit more in the core area, for instance, like 4 math credits rather than 3, and also requiring the single foreign language, 2 credits of a single foreign language. Now, our seniors go to many, many different colleges. I know the other counselors would agree. They go out of state, they go in state, private colleges, public universities. So this is just a few colleges here that a lot of our students do go to. The University of Missouri system would include University of Missouri Columbia or Mizzou, UMKC, University of Missouri St. Louis, and Missouri University of Science and Technology in Rolla. And so in Truman State's in Kirksville, Northwest in Maryville. So you can kind of see what, if you are college bound to a 4-year college, it's probably a good idea to pursue the Scholastic Diploma. Down at the bottom, you see Metropolitan Community College. Maple Woods is one of those campuses. We have a lot of our students go there as well. It's a 2-year community college, so they just require a high school diploma to go there. But I tell my students, it's still college. It's still challenging. So there's no reason to shy away from doing the Scholastic Diploma if you think you're going to go to MCC maybe for 2 years and then transfer to another college to finish out a 4-year degree. It's still a good idea. Okay, so I mentioned AP and dual credit a couple slides ago. So AP stands for Advanced Placement, and we have several classes that are advanced placement classes. So that means they're college level. Of course, these are all taught by Smithville High School teachers. But for AP, for instance, the student takes a 3 to 4 hour long test in May at the cost of approximately $90 per test. And if they score well on it, and by scoring well, I mean typically what would be equivalent to a C or better on the test, then they can transfer that grade on that exam to a college and receive college credit, or advance beyond the most basic of the classes. So that's the advanced placement part of it. With dual credit, what you're looking at is a student's earning both high school and college credit at the same time. So the college credit is coming through some of our college partners from the Missouri area, like Truman State or Missouri State in Springfield, or Missouri Western up in St. Joe. So the high school teacher is considered like an adjunct professor there at the college, and you are paying the tuition to the college that you can then transfer to wherever you go to college. So you don't have to go to that college to be able to use that college credit. Pretty common for our seniors that are going off to college to have maybe 3 or 4 college transcripts already from our dual credit partners that they're going to send to wherever they're going to college. So the tuition for those classes, about $70 to $100 per credit hour, it's a very good deal. It really is. And most students can get at least enrolled in one of those classes as a sophomore with college world history, but Spanish 3 also is dual credit, and math analysis as well. So we see some of our sophomores even taking college level classes. Okay, so I was talking about Maple Woods a couple of slides ago. And Maple Woods is one of many community colleges in the state of Missouri that accepts A+ funding. The technical vocational schools in Missouri also accept A+ funding. And hopefully you've heard about this program because it's been around a long time. I think that it is a great thing for almost all of our students to do this. And even my students who say, well, I know I'm going to college out of state. I say, okay, well, let's have a backup plan anyway. What if you go there and you don't really like it, and when you come back home, what's going to be your plan? Maybe this could be a fallback plan, so that if you ended up going to say Maple Woods for a semester or two, it could be paid for. So it's so doable for most of our students. As you can see there, 2.5 GPA is just like a B minus to C plus average on grades. So that's very, very doable. 95% cumulative attendance is about 8 school days each year that you can miss and stay at 95%. Very doable as well. And then they have to complete 50 hours of unpaid tutoring within the school district. So typically how we do that is we'll put it on a student's schedule, either their junior or senior year, for one semester on one block. During that block, they sign out at the office, they check out, and they go down to one of our other school buildings, the elementary or middle school, and they go to a classroom and they actually tutor younger students. They can also do this during summer school with the elementary or middle school students, and they can knock out their 50 hours in about 2 weeks over summer school, but it takes a full semester during the school year. They don't earn credit for doing their A+ tutoring, but they are working toward a scholarship. So that's how we justify that. And also, any students that are involved in sports can still do A+, because you have to be in 7 credit classes, 7 of 8 credit-bearing classes each semester to participate in sports. And so even though A+ is not for credit, they would still have 7 other credit classes that they are in. So I guess what I should say, what does it get you once you do this? Well, if you do go to somewhere like Maple Woods, then what you'll find is that your tuition is nearly totally paid for. We are considered out of district for Maple Woods, so we pay the difference between in district and out of district tuition on each credit hour, but that's it. It's a few $100s a semester plus the cost of your books that you end up paying. So over 2 years, it could easily add up to $7,000 or $8,000. Okay, next couple slides, I'm going to talk about Northland CAPS and then Northland Career Center. So we're getting, we're talking about things like in the future, of course, for your students, but I always tell my students that it's really good to begin with the end in mind. So if you kind of think about where you want to be, what you want to be able to do as a junior or senior, it helps you to plan your first 2 years then. You're getting your credits done, and you're allowing yourself to do amazing things like Northland CAPS. So CAPS stands for the Center for Advanced Professional Studies. And I would say we each year have 20 to 30 students at the high school that participate in Northland CAPS. The easiest way to understand it is it's an internship experience. They have strands, call these 6 areas, there's 6 strands. And so students, by the time they're a junior or senior, have a pretty decent idea maybe of what career pathway they're headed toward, and if one of these seems interesting to them. So they'll apply, and they actually get to leave campus for half a day every day and go to their location where their class is located at. For instance, Technology Solutions is at Cerner. The Medicine and Healthcare, they are located at hospitals in the Northland. So they are there at a job site, and they're learning about the careers within that pathway. They're doing site visits to businesses around Kansas City. They're having professionals come in and speak to them. They're doing real world projects with companies. And then second semester, they have an internship at one of those companies where they're interacting like 4 days a week, half of their schedule interacting with people in that business. So it's a great opportunity. They can earn some college credit. It's partially weighted as well, so it kind of boosts the GPA a little bit, and just great experience as far as all the things they learn. They do resume writing, they learn how to interview. They come away with some amazing skills from Northland CAPS. And then Northland Career Center, also very popular with our juniors and seniors. We have, I would say, 50 to 60 students in the junior and senior class together attending the Northland Career Center in all of these different programs. So whereas Northland CAPS could be junior or senior year, you don't have to go both years. Typically our students go both junior and senior year to Northland Career Center. As you can see, most of the programs have a 1 and 2 after it. So they need to go the full 2 years so they can get all of their competencies completed and to earn their certifications. That's really what this is about. It's career training in this area, so they are career ready when they get out of high school, they have their certifications completed. Typically, they will have done an internship with a company that, if it goes well, that company may very well hire them on full time as soon as they graduate. That's the goal. I would say half of the students at the Career Center from all the different high schools, about half of them will go on to a college or technical school. So you can definitely still do that, but you don't have to. You're ready for your career as soon as you get done. Okay, that was my final slide. So I'm going to pass it over now to Ms. Johnson. Okay, I think you can unmute yourself now, Karen.
All right, everybody hear me? Good, thanks, Jennifer. That was a lot of really great information. Just very briefly, I want to give you guys a look at the core classes that your students are going to be taking, just so you have an idea. And this seems like a lot at first, but try not to be overwhelmed. We give this information to the parents and the students every single year, and everyone ends up graduating, getting the right stuff. We're meeting with kids one-on-one every single year, so don't be overwhelmed. So in 9th grade, they're taking English 1 and 10th grade English 2. The junior year is when students have the choice between English 3 or AP English Language, which is also a dual credit class. And then if they're going for Scholastic Diploma, their 4th credit of English. Remember, all students, whether it's general or Scholastic, have to take 4 credits. But if they're doing the Scholastic Diploma, they'll need to do a course with the little caret, I guess is what that's called, pointing up, like Literature of Social Change, AP English Literature, Contemporary Women's or World Literature. Okay, next slide, Jen. All right, and then Social Studies, you'll see at the top, the General Diploma requires 3, the Scholastic Diploma requires 4. Some of these classes are weighted. You'll see that with the asterisks, like AP Psychology, AP US History. Basically, your 9th grade student will be taking American History. There are a few exceptions, just a tiny few, and those kids have been talked to by their teacher. And so that is a situation counselors are aware of and will be talking to you and your student one-on-one. It does not apply for 99% of students. The second year, students will take World History, and then this is their first opportunity at a dual credit class, and that is College World History. So they can get 6 credit hours of this class through Missouri State University. It's good practice for sophomores because as they enter their junior and senior years, they're taking more and more dual credit, and so just getting their feet wet with it this year is a good idea, but they need to have a good American history grade. I think the teachers are looking for like an A or B 9th grade American history student to take that. And then junior year, it's basically the year that we do government. And so we call government civics, and then global studies is kind of a picture of the governments and the cultures of all the countries around the world. That's for just someone who wants to take the class and check off that requirement. But if your student is wanting AP or dual credit, they may take the AP US Gov, AP Comparative Gov version. It's the same class. One is just more rigorous and has the AP dual credit with it. Actually, that's just AP. Okay, next slide. So then math is a little bit complicated. It depends on where your student is starting. It also is going to be determined by where they want to end. So the highest math that we have is AP Calc BC. We generally have about 20 or less students who end up in this Calc BC class as seniors. So you can see by that number that the majority of students don't need to get there. This is a class that maybe a lot of you didn't even have to take when you were in college if you have a college degree. So it's more for a student who's very serious about a career in science or engineering. But if they do that, they're going to be doubling up on math at some point in time. So that notwithstanding, your students are basically going to be starting with Algebra 1 unless they need to brush up on some skills. Their teacher will place them in a Foundations of Algebra class. After Algebra 1, or say that your student is in Algebra 1 in 8th grade, they'll take Geometry and then Algebra 2. And then you can see college algebra, math analysis, AP stats, college prep math. Those are all kind of at the same level. Their math teacher will tell them which one is best for them. And then Calc AB, which is Calc 1, and Calc BC. I would encourage you to reach out to your student's counselor if you have questions about when your student would be doubling up on math or why they should be doubling up on math. We generally see kids do this their sophomore year with geometry and algebra 2, although sometimes an 8th grader who's taking algebra 1 would start with algebra 2 as a 9th grader and then take geometry and math analysis as a sophomore so that they can top out at Calc BC. Okay, next slide. Okay, science, thank goodness, is a little bit more straightforward. All 9th graders take physical science, all 10th graders take biology, and then you can see that there are tons of science electives. They only need 1 credit of elective for the general diploma. They do need 4 credits of science if they're doing the scholastic diploma. Okay. I think that's it for me, right? Oh, I did, yeah, right here I do want to say, you know, as Jennifer said, keeping the end in mind is important. So if your student knows what they kind of think they want to do, they have an idea of their career path, this presentation will be available to you, and these are live links, so you can click on that where it says here, and you'll get electives that match a specific career pathway. So maybe it's medicine and healthcare. It will give all the electives that would probably be great for that kid to take so that they're prepared for that in college. Things like anatomy and physiology, biomedical science, psychology, things like that. Okay. I think it's Miss Anderson or Miss Combs' turn now to speak.
Okay, hi everyone. What I am going to do is actually talk about what electives that you guys have the options to take. So right now, Ms. Robinson is pulling up the sheet that you guys have received from us last week. And instead of going through every single elective that we have, I'm only going to go over the ones that are on this sheet. You will get information about the other electives that you can take other years. And then all of these electives, if you forget what I'm talking about right now and you don't remember the differences between the classes, we have our academic planning guide that is online, and you'll be able to log on to the academic planning guide that's on the counseling website to look at the course descriptions if you forget what these classes are. So I'm going to start at the top with the.
Can you see the registration form? Okay, good.
Yep, I've got it right up. I'm going to talk first about debate and forensics, and Ms. Robinson kind of covered this. The reason I think this is important is that you can fulfill your speech credit with this. So if you are someone who is going to take AP English Lang during your junior year and you will not get your speech credit in ELA 3, beginning debate and forensics would be a good class for you to take in order to fulfill that speech credit. The other one that fulfills the speech credit is Intro to Business. In that class, in both of these classes, you have to take it for all year long in order to get that speech credit. And then the last way to get your speech credit, again, is the speech class itself, Fundamentals of Speech. But that one's only a half-year class. So these two, Intro to Business and Beginning Debate and Forensics, are year-long classes. You have to be in them for the full year. If we go back up to the science elective, Principles of Biomed, that's your science elective. This is for a student who is going down maybe a medical path, either doctor, nurse, or even sometimes veterinarians can go through that. They learn basic body systems, body functions, and it's part of the Project Lead the Way curriculum. So the next class that we have available to our sophomores and above is human body systems, where they learn more about body systems and diseases and how that affects the body. So for the students who are going either a medical path or even a veterinarian path, Principles of Biomed would be a good class to take as an elective. Then we get on to world languages. So you don't have to take a world language if you don't want to, if you're going for the general diploma. If you're going for the scholastic diploma, however, you will need to take 2 years of a foreign language, and they have to be consecutive. So what that means is it has to go back to back, Spanish 1 and Spanish 2, or French 1 and French 2. It can't be Spanish 1 and French 1. You'll see on there that you have a couple electives that you can take for Spanish. There's Spanish 1A and Spanish 1B, and then there's just Spanish 1. So the difference between those two is Spanish 1A and Spanish 1B is essentially Spanish 1 broken up over 2 years. So if you're someone, and myself would be included in this, I am not very good with a world language. I would need that material to come at me slower. It's broken up over 2 years. So keep that in mind when you're picking your Spanish 1 class. Now, if you have already started Spanish, or if your child's already started Spanish in 8th grade, that Spanish 1 class will count as the class that they need for the Scholastic Diploma, but it does not count towards the 28 credits that they need to graduate. So if they've taken that Spanish 1 class, they'll go straight into Spanish 2, and they will have fulfilled the credits that the classes that they need to get that Scholastic Diploma. That extra class that they would need would be kind of their elective class, one of their elective credits that they would need. That's confusing though. If you have questions on that, you can talk directly with one of us to clarify. I'm going to move down to journalism. So we have Intro to Yearbook and Intro to Broadcast Journalism. So Intro to Yearbook is the class where they actually work directly on the yearbook. And then Broadcast Journalism is any of the other things that the journalism class does. So they broadcast the sports games, they do the newsletter, and they learn basic journalism skills, reporting and things like that in the broadcast journalism class. Intro to Business is an important class because if you want to take any of the other business classes after your freshman year, that's the prerequisite for any of those other business classes. So business law, business management, and if you want to be in the business program, which is where where we run the grind, our coffee shop at the high school, you will definitely want to take Intro to Business. And then you also have the opportunity to take computer programming. They learn basic skills like HTML and how to code, things like that. So if you're interested in that, that'd be a class you would want to pick. Introduction to Engineering and Design is a class that you would want to take if you're interested in engineering, architecture, math, even some sciences. It will be good for that. And then there's also a second engineering class after that. So we have 2 that you can take for the engineering track in our school. Then we come down to FACS, so Family and Consumer Sciences. Fashion and Textiles is where you will do like the sewing and basic fashion design. Housing and Interior Design is what it sounds like. And then Nutrition and Wellness, that's where they cook. They learn about good nutrition, how to balance meals and things like that. Child Development 1 and 2, they learn how to take care of a family of children. They do the Empathy Belly in Child and Development 1, and then they have we have a little daycare that they run at the end of Child Development 2. The next one down is going to be agriculture. So Introduction to Agriculture, Food, and Natural Resources, that's AFNR. That would be a class that you would need to take as a prerequisite for any of the other agriculture classes that you would want to take. So ag construction or ag tractor power, that's where kind of our shop is. So if we have anybody whose students are hands-on learners and they want to be in there working with welding, or they work on engines, things like that, they build things. Intro to Ag would be the class that they would want to start with. The next one down is health. Ms. Robinson covered this. This is a graduation requirement, so they can take that and get that out of the way. They do CPR in there and other basic health things that they'll need to know, just general good information. Up next is going to be your physical education classes. And these classes are usually pretty popular, so I'm going to go over each one of them. Co-ed PE is your run-of-the-mill PE class. They do a variety of different things, kind of like the same 8th grade PE class that they have now. That's your general PE class. Lifetime Sports is more of your leisurely sports. So Lifetime Sports and Power Sports, I get questions on that. What's the difference between those two? Power Sports are your more contact sports. So think football, basketball, softball, baseball, volleyball. Those are power sports. Lifetime Sports is going to be your leisurely sports. So golf, badminton, tennis, things like that, that are less hands-on contact. Power walking is what it sounds like. They walk around the gym. That class is really for students who don't necessarily like physical education, but they need to get that PE credit. And you can take that class for two semesters in a row, or one semester 1 year and one semester the next year to get those credits. Females and weights, and then weight training, that's co-ed. Females and weights is just the girls. They come in and there's only girls in the weight room, so a little less pressure for them. And then weights co-ed is with everybody together. So if you're not interested in having 70 people in a room and you want it to be a little more intimate, usually females and weights has less people in there for the ladies. Now, the thing to remember about the PE credits, you can only take 2 PE credits at a time. So you can't fill up all 4 of your electives with PE. You can't take co-ed, lifetime, power walking, and power sports as all of your electives. You can only take 2 at a time, so pick 2 if you want to take 2 of those. Then we're coming down to music, advanced instrumental music, that's band. And then jazz ensemble is next. You do have to be in band to have a jazz ensemble. There's music theory and music appreciation. The difference between those 2 classes is music theory is for the student who is already knows about music, can either play music or sing music, where in that class they kind of read and write and perform their own music. Music appreciation is different because you don't need any prior knowledge to be in music appreciation. You will learn about music and the history and things that go behind it without any prior knowledge. So if a student wants to get their fine art credit out of the way and they don't necessarily want to sing and they don't want to do art and they don't want to be in band, they could take music appreciation to get that fine art credit. Mixed choir is going to be our non-audition choir, so anybody can take mixed choir. And then Lakeside, and there's 2 other concert choirs that you have to audition for. And you can talk with Mr. Duncan, and we also have a sign-up sheet if you're interested in signing up for Lakeside and concert choir. You can go ahead and send your counselor an email, and we can get you signed up to audition for that. Next down is art foundations, and this is the prerequisite for any of the other art classes. So if you're going to be an art student and you're interested in drawing and painting, or art portfolio, and I forget, there's one other one that I'm not thinking of right now, but if you want to take those other art classes, then you want to start with art foundations so you can move on to those. Then we have theater. Both of those, theater arts 1 and 2, are the performing theater arts classes. If that's not for you, you might wait until your sophomore, junior, senior year to take our theater production, which is the behind the scenes. So they still participate with the theater troupe, but they're behind the scenes, either building the set, doing the sound, lighting, costume design, hair and makeup, that kind of stuff. That's for sophomores and above. But theater arts 1 and 2 is the performance-based classes. Then we have our general electives. So outdoor ed is a pretty popular class. You can only take that 1 time over 4 years because it's pretty popular. They do some cool stuff there. They go out to the lake and they map the trails. They do geocaching where they have to use coordinates to find something. They learn camping skills like building a fire, cooking over a fire. And they also do hunter's education, hunter's safety. So they learn how to handle a firearm and do that safely. And then they actually go and practice using that firearm and shooting out at the range. And then sports med 1 and 2, these students work directly with our trainer, and they learn how to treat sports injuries, how to keep them safe. They build programs for athletes, and they work directly with one of the sports teams. So if they take sports med 1, then they might work with a football team for 10 hours over that semester. And then one of the spring sports, track or something, or baseball or softball in sports med training too. So those are the general electives that the freshmen are allowed to take, and we can discuss any questions that you guys have. After this, I think I'm ready to move on, Jen. I think there's one more slide. Oh yeah, okay, so we do have some summer school options. Now, most of these are only available after their freshman summer. The only one that they can actually sign up for this summer In between 8th grade and freshman year would be PE, and that would be lifetime sports is the credit that they would be working towards. Now you'll notice right there that they only get a quarter credit for that. So say your student wants to get all of their PE credits over the summer and not have to take it during the school year, they'll need to do this PE lifetime sports for the next 4 summers to get a full PE credit. So I just want to make that difference there, that there is only a quarter credit for a PE class over the summer. And if you do want to sign up for that, it's actually right on the front of the high school website to sign up for a summer class. So you can go there to sign up. And then if you see on the bottom of that sheet that you have, I don't know if you all have it in front of you, but we do want you guys to write in the alternate classes, so a year long and a semester class, because sometimes freshmen don't get their first choices. So it is important to write in your preferences for the alternate classes. Otherwise, the counselors have to kind of choose classes until we know what they want to take. If you guys see it and you want to sign it so that we know that you've approved the classes for your students, go ahead and sign that. And then we will be actually registering students one-on-one starting tomorrow, and we'll be with each student. We'll pull them out of their social studies classrooms and talk over the schedules if they have any additional questions for us. Okay, so this is the link for the registration video that we're talking about right now. We're going to put it up on the website, so you'll actually be able to see everything that we talked about tonight and send it on to anybody who didn't get to come tonight. So I think what we'll do now is I think we'll open up to any questions that you guys have in the chat. So we'll see what you guys have and we'll just answer it as they come. Karen, do you want to talk about, we have a question real quick about math since you were doing the core classes.
Okay, am I unmuted?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So the question, my student is in Algebra 1 this year. I'm confused about when they should double up on math. Okay. Basically, you have to think about this. Is your student better equipped to take 2 math classes freshman year, or would you rather them transition into high school, wait, and then do 2 classes instead sophomore year? Both students will end up at the same place senior year, or have the potential to end up at the same place, which is Calc BC.
There's a question about how will the enrollment process look for 100% virtual students? That's a great question. We are assuming we will have students next school year that are 100% virtual, although ladies, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm not sure if we've gotten word on that yet, but we're kind of planning as if we will potentially have that. So for this year, it was basically, I think there was a Google form that we had the parents fill out. I'm assuming we'll do something similar to that, and then that comes to us, and then we'll just give you a call and talk about what classes they'll take. Typically this year we had our virtual students take 6 classes rather than 8. We felt like it was just a more doable caseload for them, or course load, I should say, for them. Now, if they were enrolled in a sport or say band, something that's a MSHA sanctioned activity, they had to be in 7. So anything I'm forgetting there, ladies?
I'd like to say something about that, Jennifer. If you are interested in your student going 100% virtual, still fill out the registration form and put all of the classes on there that your student needs to take, because it's from that they determine the online sections. If those, and I would also say that Dr. Cradfield is in charge of that, and I'm sure she'll be sending out some communication later on.
I'll answer the next one down. So to get the Scholastic Diploma in skipping freshmen or skipping history right now, what that would look like is they would go into world history or college world history. They can start that. The class that they would take their junior year would be AP US history. So they would get that US history credit through AP US history. They also will still need to get that civics and global studies credit. So they can either continue on just like they would normally and take 2 classes at the same time, 2 history classes, or I believe, and tell me if I'm wrong, Karen or Jennifer, that they could take civics and global studies earlier if we believe that they're ready to do that, or if if they don't want to do that until their junior year, they can take civics and global studies and AP US history at the same time junior year. And then that senior year, they would take their social studies electives, so psychology or any of the other social studies electives that they would want to take. And then how do we see the academic planning guide? That is actually, if you go to the high school counseling website, that's on the Smithville High School website, there is on the left-hand side, there is a drop-down that says academic planning guide, and you can click on that link and then click on the one for 2021-2022 to see the academic planning guide.
There's a question, can one class satisfy 2 requirements, such as intro to business for practical art and speech? In that instance specifically, yes. Speech is more of, think of it as something like a box to check. Have I taken a class that fulfills my speech requirement? Intro to business does that. And intro to business is also a practical art credit. So in that instance, yes. You can't always double dip in every situation, but that one you definitely can. That works.
Someone is asking about health prior to 9th grade. We've been told no, that we cannot do that. And then there's a question about why is the yearbook class only a semester class? That teacher only has so many blocks to teach, and she needs to give them an intro class before they can do the full year-long yearbook class. So it's a semester because she feels she can give the intro in a semester's length, and then they'll be ready to do yearbook for the entire year. And that's a repeatable class, by the way. They can just continue taking yearbook once they get the intro done.
A question on here about the current 100% virtual students at the middle school. I sent out an email, I believe it was late last week, that had the registration form on there and said the best thing, I think the best way to do it would be go ahead and fill that out and either take a picture of it or scan it and send it back to the your student's assigned counselor. And we have been getting some of those back, and I feel like it's working pretty well. Sarah, Karen, would you say that's
yeah. Or just type it up, just email the 8 credits. There's a question on here about how to get AP financial aid. Do you have to take all AP classes? So there is no such thing as AP financial aid. There is AP credit if your student scores well on an AP exam that's given at the end of the year. If they score well on that at the end of the year, they send that off to the college they're going to, and the college has a choice to make. Do they give them college credit for it or not? Most colleges do, so that means that class doesn't have to be taken. So in effect, you're not paying for tuition, so I guess it's kind of like a financial break. But this makes me think you're talking about financial aid that people parents submit for their child in October of that child's senior year. That's called the FAFSA, the Federal Application for Student Aid. So it has nothing to do with AP.
I have a question here. Wondering if students at the beginning of the alphabet will have an advantage because they're enrolling tomorrow over my students that are enrolling on Friday, and in terms of classes being full. That is a big no. We do not do anything like that to students. We wouldn't do that. So what we're doing right now is just taking course requests for students. We don't have a master schedule built yet, so classes are not filling up. We're not putting them into classes yet. We're just inputting course requests into PowerSchool, so every student will have the exact same opportunity to get into any class.
Let's see, is there a place to view class description? So it's all in the academic planning guide. Content of intro to business. So I kind of have it pulled up. Content includes economics, accounting, finance, management, marketing, operations, and business law. Let's see, international business, as well as employment skills and resume and interviewing knowledge. So all of that is on the academic planning guide, but there's a little snippet of what's in intro to business. And then I'll go back down to Spanish 1A and Spanish 1B again. Spanish 1A and Spanish 1B is Spanish 1 broken up over 2 years. So instead of taking Spanish 1 just your freshman year, you would take Spanish 1A freshman year, Spanish 1A sophomore year, and then go on to take Spanish 2, junior or senior year. So hopefully that helps.
And then on the, I thought it helped pay for schools like Maple Woods. That's the A+ program, and they do pay for Maple Woods. They pay for, A+ pays for Missouri community colleges.
And you don't have to take AP classes to do the A+ program. So maybe
Right.
that was more the question. Music theory can be taken for 2 semesters, yes. Spanish 1A, Spanish 1B over 2 years, yep. Does the student have to take all of the AP classes? No, the student does not have to take all AP classes to get school paid for through the A+ program. They have to meet those certain requirements for the A+ program. So a 2.5 GPA, doing the 50 tutoring hours through the A+ program, and having a 95% cumulative attendance rate. Also, they do have to pass the Algebra 1 EOC end of course exam with a proficient or above. If the student doesn't meet that requirement, we can either retake it or they can get a certain score on their ACT to get that requirement met. If you still have questions on that, Julie, you can contact me and I can help you out with that.
And just one more thing about the difference between A+ and AP. I know we have so many different programs that sound so similar, it can be very confusing. But A+ is that program that pays for the community college. AP is a specific class that is considered a college level class, and then there's an exam at the end of the year in May only for college credit in that class. So we do have students that take many AP classes over their sophomore, junior, and senior year, and some they may pass, some they may not, but you have to get a certain score on that exam for that class to get college credit. It's totally separate from A+.
Yeah, and maybe it would help, Jennifer, to say, yeah, Rachel just typed it in the chat bar, AP stands for Advanced Placement. There was one more question you're asking, what if this, after a couple of days, letting it sink in, you change your mind? That's easy, just email the counselor and we'll change it in the computer system.
Okay, are there any other questions? I feel like I've scrolled to the very bottom of the questions.
I think email is something that we could stress again. We're all really good to answer email very quickly, or just a phone call if you want to just have a conversation, that would be just fine.
Okay. Do the students that are in Algebra 1 in 8th grade get credit for that? Yes, they do, but Tara was referring to this earlier, that we put those credits earned in 8th grade on the transcript at the very end of high school, so the end of the 8th semester. So you won't see it on there throughout high school. It won't be on there right away when you get to high school, because I think Ms. Combs said, like with the Spanish 1 counts toward your 2 credits of foreign language, but it doesn't count toward your overall credits. Like for the 28, that's where we put it at the very end. And can a freshman take Algebra 1 and geometry together? They cannot, and Ms. Johnson put that in there. They cannot. They can take Algebra 2 and geometry together.
For some reason, the information that they gain in Algebra 1 is important for them to know so that they can master the concepts in geometry.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Oh, I know what to say. I just thought of something. We have always done a big back to school orientation for 8th graders. It's usually a day or two before school starts. And so they can come into the building, they can find their classes. Student council is usually pretty instrumental in putting that on. It just kind of eases them, their fears about starting a new school and being freshmen. So look forward for that information to come out probably around July or August. So Dr. Platt will probably do a school reach call, send out a letter, emails. So that will be happening. And I think it's 8 to noon. That's what we've done in the past. I don't know if COVID will interfere with that or affect that, but in the past it's been 8 to noon for 1 day.
I want to say something else real quick.
We're also talking about.
Just real quick, I wanted to say something else I was thinking of about summer classes. So if your student wants to sign up for Lifetime Sports for this summer, that will actually start their transcript now. So if they decide that they don't want to take that class after you guys have already signed up for it, go ahead and email your counselor before that class starts, because if they sign up for a summer class and they choose not to take it, they will get an F on their transcript. So if nobody tells us that they didn't want to come to summer school, it starts them off with an F. So if you guys keep that in mind, if you change your mind, just email us before the summer school starts. I believe it starts on June 2nd and goes to July 2nd. It's about a month long. So keep that in mind as you make your vacation plans if they sign up for a summer class.
So freshman orientation, we're actually talking about doing a step-up day on May 25th when the students are still at the middle school, where they would come up for a couple hours. I met with the student council representatives about a week ago. So we're looking at that. I'm not certain if that would take the place of the orientation day in July or if it would be in addition. So, but we will make sure that we broadcast the heck out of that whenever it's time. But we do know that we're planning with Mr. Winterbore right now for all of the 8th graders to come to the high school on May 25th. They would spend about 2 hours with us. They would get a tour. They would go to a classroom and sit in a classroom for a little bit and possibly even eat lunch at the high school, which would be terrifying and exciting all at the same time. So anyway, that is kind of one of the things that we're planning right now.
Well, that sounds like it'll be a fun day. I look forward to that and having the 8th graders come up and mingle with us at the high school. Does that also include virtual kids coming up, Ms. Marchetti?
Absolutely. If they want to come, they are more than welcome to attend.
Okay. So do we have any last parting thoughts, or I feel like we've probably shared everything we need to? Anything
I think
else?
I can just reiterate from the counselors that if anything comes up, if you have any other questions, do not hesitate to get in touch with us. You can email your counselors, you can email me, and we will find the answers for you. So we know that sometimes this can be a little nerve-wracking, but please have faith that we've done this before, and your child will be okay. And we will do our very best to get them everything that they need.
Yeah. Thank you for that, Ms. Marchetti. I'm going to go ahead and end the call then. So feel free, parents, if you have any questions, send us an email. We're getting lots of thank yous in the comments, and we really appreciate that. So we're really glad you guys attended, and let us know if you have any questions. So everybody have a good evening, and we look forward to seeing you 8th graders tomorrow and Friday. Bye, everybody.